Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good morning and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. It's Thursday, which means it is the day to talk about Spider-Man. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man over on Disney Plus, the new animated show. And I'm really enjoying the show. I would say I'm enjoying the show probably more than I have enjoyed most of the Disney Plus Marvel things at this point. Especially more than, What If, by a long shot. And I realize that I take a lot of shots at What If, and, a lot of them are warranted, I'm going to be honest, because I don't think that show was particularly good at any point during its run. But, the idea that, this show was so much better, and by a country mile, and I think what it is that really works is that it's not trying to be beholden to anything that came before it. There are nods and winks and things like that reference that there is this wider universe. There is this, there are other Marvel heroes here. There are other things going on. It's just that's not what the most important thing is. This is very much a Spider-Man show in a way that, the MCU doesn't have the supporting cast of Spider-Man there. There's no Oscorp at the MCU. There's no Otto Octavius. There's no any of these people. So I think this show does a great job kind of balancing that. This idea that, okay, we are going to be doing, we're doing a little bit of everything here, and then, we're going to do all of that. And I think one of the things that the show is really excelling at in a way that I don't think the MCU really nailed, the MCU proper, because it's also MCU, it's just MCU adjacent universe, whatever, or a sister universe to the MCU where it's a slight difference. But the point is, watching this show, I think a lot of the character moments are landing a lot better, because at the end of the day, it's say what you will about Spider-Man No Way Home, but that is a multiverse movie, and I don't think anyone was really there to see the development of Peter Parker or anything of that sort. It's that kind of thing where it's I'm watching this and it's I really like what they're doing with Lonnie, and I like the way that they're tying Lonnie's origin to, Spider-Man's. The origin of Tombstone is very much in line with Spider-Man. Now, that said, is it perfect? No. I would have liked to have seen Lonnie and Peter be friends before this. Like, because I think that's the thing, is that we're dealing with something where it's like, fundamentally the story they're trying to tell is that Lonnie is falling in with the gang because Lonnie doesn't have Peter there as a friend. Peter is too busy being Spider-Man and too busy doing Oscorp things that he can't be the, he can't be there to kind of talk him off the ledge and try to help him out of the situation. So like him continuing to grow and take on the moniker Tombstone is an interesting development for this character. But if you're trying to tell the story that they're clearly trying to tell, I think you need to have had them be friends before the show started. Like, maybe they were childhood friends. Like, he's Pearl's boyfriend, but at the same time, it's like, he like, the opening of the first episode has, for this batch, episode 3, has the previously on, and they talk about, what does Lonnie have that I don't? And it's like, well, he's a football star, he does this, and he has Pearl, which is a nice way to sum up, who the character is for anyone who's tuning in now. But at the same time, it's like, but why, like, Peter should care. Like that's the thing, is that I need him to care more about Lonnie than he does, like, anyone else involved. And I don't think we really get that, because it's just like, Lonnie's a guy. They're lab partners, sure. But at the same time, it's like, I don't feel that Peter Parker has an affinity for any of these people any more than anyone else. So, like, as he's starting to fall out with Lonnie and Nico and all of that, and fall in with the new friends at Oscorp, I mean, really Norman and Harry, it feels like it doesn't feel quite right. It feels like it's something that could be better. There was room for them to do more, and they just didn't take that road, which is a little disappointing to me. That said, I do like the idea of having Doc Ock as the first real villain. The idea that Doc Ock is going to be the first real big, like, we're all working together, kind of like, I'm giving everyone these augmentations in the field, and I'm going to be the one who's he on high. I like that idea, and I think it gives you a personal stake between, and they've done this a million times. We've seen it in Spider-Man 2. What was the other one? Spider-Man for the PS4. We've seen this a million times. The animosity between Otto Octavius and Norman Osborn. I think in a TV show you're going to have a little bit more room to do it than in Spider-Man 2, but not by a lot, which is unfortunate. Do I think that this... I'm really enjoying it. I think the art style is growing on me, too. I was editing something last night while I was watching it, but the art style is really growing on me. I don't think that the show is, I think there's still room for improvement. It's very hard to make something that's absolutely perfect, but I'm really enjoying what this show is. I'm really enjoying, what it is, and it's like, it's an interesting niche universe, and it's just a shame that we don't get this level of fleshed out Spider-Man-ness in the MCU proper. And I understand there's rights issues that go into that, and it's like, well, Sony would have to give up some of their rights, and and considering that it's a lease basically of Spider-Man to the MCU, you don't want to introduce these things and then have it not be able to be used in full. Like the idea that, like, oh, well, Norman Osborn, Oscorp is there, but we're just never going to talk about it again. Like, it's a weird situation that I don't think you necessarily want to have to deal with. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, the amount of fucking bitching about Tiamat sticking his hand out of the ocean and being killed there, and everyone was like, what the fuck? When was the last time we heard about this? Ha 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 ha. It's like, okay, like, so it's like, you're getting to see people like, well, Oscorp is out there, what have they been up to? Like, I don't know. It's an interconnected universe. What do you want from me? Like, and it's not a comic book where you can just pick up a comic and it's so much cheaper to produce a comic than it is to produce a movie or a TV show, like, or even an animated show. Like, the comic is so much cheaper. You can just be like, hey, do you want to write a comic about X, Y, and Z? Go ahead, have fun. Like, it's just one of those things, and I'm like, why? You know, I get why they're doing it. It just feels like a weird vacancy in this universe, especially where allegedly in a post-Secret Wars world, I think that was one of the big mistakes that the MCU made. Let's just take a quick aside here, because we have Secret Wars coming up in 2027. We addressed it briefly last night on Exploring Hyperspace Lanes, Josie and I, but I think that the idea that they are, you know, working on, you know, what they're doing in the post-Secret Wars world, what does that look like? Well, I think that looks like X-Men. Obviously, the Mutant Saga is going to be the next one. I think that's a given. And I think, too, it's like we're going to be looking at Avengers vs. X-Men as the first Avengers movie after. I still think that movie is coming down the road, even if it's not going to be what Doomsday is. But the point is, in all of this, I do have a point. I don't think that, you know, if we're going to be, like, first off, the big mistake with Endgame was calling it Endgame, because Endgame sounds like the end. It sounds something where, like, we're wrapping up this story and we're done, and then you don't have to watch anything after it. That was a mistake. They should have gone Infinity, like, what is Infinity War should have been Infinity Gauntlet, and then what is Infinity War, what is in Endgame should have been Infinity War. Or Infinity Crusade, or one of the other naming conventions. Like, that would have been the smarter thing, I think. But they didn't do that. They did Infinity War and Endgame, which, okay, sure, more power to you. The other issue that I have with this kind of way they've been handling this is that if the mutants come around, and we have the mutants, and we have the Fantastic Four, and we have everything there, and Spider-Man's in this universe, but we don't have Spider-Man's supporting cast really in this universe, that's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel weird that, like, okay, everyone's here, and then Spider-Man himself is here, and he's got a bunch of one-off villains who are also here, but, like, we don't have everyone else. That's going to feel bizarre. Like, it's going to feel out of place compared to what the rest of the universe is doing. Especially considering we're looking at a situation where the universe is going to be so vast at that point, because you're going to have everything. Like, there are no lost rights at that point, except for maybe doing a Hulk solo movie. The only wayward son is still Spider-Man. And I think that that's going to look weird for people. People are going to have maybe a hard time dealing with that. I don't know if it's something that's going to impact their viewing, but it's something that I'm going to be like, it's very weird they can't just strike a long-term deal. Because obviously, Sony's making very little money on the movies they do on their own. So, like, why not? Like, why not just, you know, be like, hey, well, we'll work with you on this. Like, it feels like a no-brainer. And just be like, look, well, you guys can consult on the script, you guys can make it part of your universe, we'll split the profits 50-50, we'll split the costs 50-50, and we'll, you know, we'll do it all together. Great, fantastic, move along. I understand that there are egos in play here, and I think that is a lot of what the issue is that we're dealing with people who have, you know, who have egos and their own systems of belief, and that's a whole other thing. Sorry, my microphone fell. I thought I attacked it properly. But that is all something that needs to be dealt with. And I think this show just kind of highlights that, like, Spider-Man can work. Spider-Man can work in this kind of, you know, in this medium if handled right. It's just we haven't seen Spider-Man handled right, I don't think, really ever. Because, like, the key to a lot of this is, I mean, Raimi kind of did it probably the closest to being right, or John Watts. I don't think Webb did, but, like, it was either Raimi or Watts, depending on where you fall on this, who handled this the best. And I'd be curious to to do that, to see how that works. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Sorry for the weirdness with the audio toward the end, because I dropped the microphone fell from its perch. Not perch, it fell from the place it was clipped. But we'll wrap up there for today. Later today, we'll be talking about Love Hurts, the Ke Huy Quan movie with Ariana DeBose and Marshawn Lynch, and we'll be talking about whether or not Ariana DeBose's agent should be brought before The Hague, because it is criminal what is going on with her. Like, what the fuck? She got an Oscar. Why is she unable to get, a good job? Like, what the fuck? But besides that, we'll be talking about, we'll be talking about that, and if the movie's good. But we will wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.